Hi everyone, welcome to my bookshelf. Today I am going to talk about a few of my recent reads. This is for the end of March 2023. I have just 3 reads to share with you today. First up is That Birthday in Barbados by Inglath Cooper. This is the second novel of hers that I've read. I read That Month in Tuscany. That was the first of her novels I read, and so I really liked that book. And then I was very curious about what else she'd written, so I found this, and I love the Caribbean, so I love islands and the beach and all that good stuff, so I was very curious about this. However, I have to say I was disappointed. I felt like she phoned it in. When I compare this book, which basically has a similar plot, older woman, you know, almost middle age. I guess she's getting ready to turn 40, so she's having her birthday. She's going to Barbados by herself, boo-hoo, because she's, you know, dumped her husband, or he's dumped her, or whatever you want to say. She caught him cheating. And so she goes off to Barbados to have her 40th birthday alone. And, you know, of course, we know she meets a love interest and all that good stuff. So, yeah, I really was disappointed. I ended up giving this 3 out of 5 stars. I actually thought of stopping a few times as far as finishing it, but it's a very easy read. So I went ahead and pushed through. So, yeah, I felt the big problem I had, let's see, the meet cute when she meets her love interest it felt rushed and kind of contrived, but not even really contrived in a good way. Okay, so her other novel, A Month in Tuscany, there is a contrived meet cute where she falls in his lap, you know, that kind of thing on the plane, and that's actually on the cover of the book, so, you know, the back cover, so it's not I'm not spoiling anything. But this was just kind of like, she sees him, he sees her, hey, they kind of like each other, okay, you know. So anyway, I felt like, just like I said, it was kind of rushed and not really developed, and there was just a few things that were kind of strange about it. There's a character in here who has cancer, and there are some weird things that are talked about in here concerning that I felt a little personally uncomfortable with. So yeah, not even sure if I'm going to read any more of her books at this point. I was so disappointed, but it was a fast read. It was okay. I'm glad I read it. Another read is actually a short story. Okay, this is a little booklet from a journal called One Story. I have on and off for years. I join them, and then I get a bunch of these, and I try to keep up, and then I can't keep up, even though they only send you one a month. And then I end up canceling after a while, and then I join again because I'm like, what's my deal? Why can't I just read a story? You know, so I've also taken a number of their writing classes, which I have really enjoyed. But anyway, if you're curious, get on online to check out One Story, and literally they send you 1 story a month as part of a monthly subscription. Very inexpensive, very reasonably priced. And it's literary fiction. So it's short stories, literary fiction, no nonfiction or anything like that. This one's called Wrecker by Tamara Dean, and I really liked it. I was actually discussing it with a friend of mine the other day, Karen over at Starches and Stitches, and she mentioned something about you know, some of these stories like this tend to have this moral ambiguity that can be kind of disconcerting, but I don't really mind that too much. So generally, this is a story about a woman whose husband is very ill. Nothing they can really do about it. You know, she's caring for him, and 2 years into caring for him, and she's not an old lady. You know, she's a fairly young woman. I want to say she's like 30-ish. So 2 years into this process of taking care of him, and she's working full time, and, you know, she has so many obligations. And as you know, anybody that has ever had to take care of somebody who's ill, it can really wear on you. And so that's what's happening to her. She's just really exhausted. And so she, you know, tries to overcome that by doing something some of us think is kind of like not a good thing to do. But at the end, it does kind of, there's like this feeling of renewal at the end that I really like. So I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but because this just came out, it might be possible to still pick up a copy of this. And if you like short fiction, definitely, like I said, I would check out One Story. I've decided what I'm going to do now when I get these in the mail. no matter what else I am reading, I'm going to set that item aside, and then I'm going to sit down and read this. Right now I have a pretty good schedule. I'm doing really well with keeping my schedule where I read daily at least a half hour to an hour before I go to bed every night. Sometimes I might read a little bit more than that, but that's my for sure time I'm going to read. Almost never miss it. And in that case, that is something where I could in an evening easily read, you know, a little short story like this. So that was my other read for the end of March 2023. My third read was an audio book, and it is quite short. It's only a few hours long, and it is something that is kind of out of my wheelhouse, but it was a freebie on Audibles, and it had this sort of, you know, dystopian, futuristic sci-fi thing that sometimes appeals to me. It is called Ghost of Zenith by Larry Correia. Is that right? Correia. Correia. Correia is his last name. And it is, obviously it's an audiobook, so it's narrated. And basically it's not only in the future, but they're on another planet. Somehow a spaceship that had Earthlings on it at one time or other ended up accidentally landing on this planet, and I guess they crashed, really, it sounds like. And so the population ended up having to, you know, live on this planet Zenith. And so then he is a cop, and there is a terrorist attack in an area that he ends up having it's all hands on deck. So he shows up along with a lot of other cops, and he ends up being involved in trying to find out the mystery of who did this, why did they do this, that kind of thing. Because you know, anyway, I don't want to have any spoilers, but it is a freebie on Audible, so I would recommend, if you have an Audibles subscription, to check it out. One thing I would that I was disappointed in, I didn't realize when I was listening to it until I was kind of getting into it a little bit. There is a previous book to this, so I kind of wish I had listened to that one, which is also a freebie, before I listened to this one. The one before this one is called Lost Planet Homicide. So if you haven't listened to the Ghost of Zenith and you're interested, I would check to see if you could get Lost Planet Homicide first, listen to that one, then read the next one. And that one I gave 3 stars. It was good, it wasn't great. There's all kinds of backstory going on, so that was a little off-putting, but it was a nice sort of palate cleanser in between longer books that I've been listening to. And I'm popping in here real quick because I also forgot to talk about another book I read or listened to. It was Audibles also. It's called Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and it's the first time I've ever listened to any of her work or read any of her work. And I did like it. I ended up giving it, what did I give it? I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I had to look over there on my computer screen. Yes, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really, really liked it, and I would definitely read her work again. I did enjoy it, and I am going to look out for, she has like many authors these days, she's very prolific, so there are many things I could possibly read from her. It is the story of Nora, who is a literary agent, and she ends up meeting somebody named Charlie, who is a book editor. So the whole literary agent, book editor sort of combination, I really liked that about it. I liked how it talked about publishing. I liked how that was sort of a setting, part of the setting. Of course, then they end up, you know, leaving New York and going south. So they do change the setting, as at least the physical setting for the most part. The reason why I gave it 4 instead of 5 stars is just because I was off-put a little bit by the large amount of kind of snarky banter that the characters, especially Nora and Charlie, continually, it's like everything is sort of a quib or it's hard for me to explain it, but it felt that a lot of the dialogue is just like these, you know, zingers constantly back and forth between them, which I get that they have chemistry, and so that's demonstrating the chemistry and everything, but you know, it seemed like there's just so much of it that it was, like I said, a little bit off-putting, but I really enjoyed the characters and the story. I did kind of figure out what the ending was going to be pretty darn soon. Sooner than I would have liked. I figured out what was going to happen at the end. But again, I recommend it. I am going to look for more of her books. In fact, if you have read anything by this author, let me know in the comments down below, because I'm kind of looking for my next Emily Henry read. All right, thank you so much for stopping by to see what's on my bookshelf. I always appreciate a thumbs up and a subscription, and of course, comments. Bye-bye.